We're going to make a quick change to our bathroom, and then we're going to get started making these vents for the overhead compartments. So we're going to go back to our Blender file, and we're going to switch to face select. We're going to select these two faces. What we want to do is make a place to throw your trash away, so when you wipe your hands off with paper towels, you need somewhere to throw the trash away. And it doesn't make sense to have like a trash barrel or something, because while the bus is in motion, it could fall over and just dump everything all over the place. So it'd be a lot better to have something like inside something that's not going to be able to fall over. So I think right here is a pretty decent spot to put it. So we're just going to do I to inset and just do an inset, and then switch to edge select and select these two edges here. And then we're just going to press V to rip it, and then right click to cancel that, and just bring this back slightly. So this would be like the part where you just push it open and put your garbage in here. So that's just a really simple way you could model the inside where the garbage would go if you really wanted to, but I don't really think that's necessary for this. So that's just going to be it for that. Now we're going to tab into object mode. We're going to do Alt H to unhide everything. So as you can see, we have our objects here that we created earlier. So we should probably just move these to a new layer, so that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to select these objects. We're going to tab into edit mode. We also have the entire bathroom here still, so we need to separate these individual pieces from the bathroom itself. So we can just do 3 for side view and select a vertex up here, B to box select, and get all these vertices. Then we're going to do P to separate, and we're going to choose selection to make it a different object. Tab into object mode, select this new object, so it's these 3 pieces. Then just press M and we're going to move it to a new layer. So I'm going to choose this layer right here, so just left click on it, and that's going to move it to an entirely different layer. Now we're going to do Z to go into wireframe, and we want to select our overhead compartment, so just select that. And you can do Shift H to hide everything else, and then just tab into edit mode. And I'm going to do period to focus in on this area. So we want this thing to be down here, so we're going to go to face select, and we're going to select this face. And it actually works out pretty good if you just separate this face from the rest of this stuff. It changes the shading a bit. So you'll see what I mean. If we just go and do I to do an inset here, which is what we're going to do eventually, the shading gets all messed up for whatever reason. So in order to kind of fix that, if you just do Control plus and select this entire area, which would have been just that face to begin with, if we do Y to separate this, you'll see the shading gets a lot better. So if we just separate this, it's going to make things a lot easier on us. And we can actually do Shift H if we want to hide everything else. So now we can go to vertex select and just select these. We're going to do S and then Y to scale this in some. And we're going to scale these top ones in even more. So we're going to select these, do S and then Y, and scale them in even more. And maybe even just bring them out on the X-axis a bit. Then we're going to switch back to face select, select this face, do I to do an inset. That should be fine. We're going to switch to vertex select, get these two, S and then Y, and scale them in. So you want sort of an angle like this to this part. That's the goal of this. Just try to get this at an angle, and you can even reposition this on the X-axis if you need to. Once you're happy with the position of your stuff here, just go to edge select, and we're going to select these edges here. We're just going to do delete and choose edges. We're also going to need to delete these 2 edges right here. So just do delete and choose edges. Then go to vertex select and select these vertices here. Do Control Shift and B, and just do a bevel on this. You could mouse wheel up if you wanted, but I think 2 is probably going to be okay. So just leave it at 2 vertices for each corner, and that should be fine. Then we're going to go to face select, select this face, I to do an inset, and just do a small inset here. Then we're going to do I to do another inset, and just do another small one. And in this case, we're just going to bring this up, so just bring it up on the Z-axis. So we're going to create a cube. We're going to go to create and choose cube, and we're going to want to bring this over to this other piece right here. We're going to scale it down with S and just bring it over. Continue positioning it where it needs to be. You're going to have to bring mine down on the Z-axis and just scale it down some. Then we're going to scale this down. We're going to make it pretty small, and we're going to scale it out on the Y-axis. So do S and then Y and scale this out. We actually want to center this on this piece, so what we're going to do is Control R and just left click, right click here. Select an edge here, just do Control L. We're going to switch this to individual origins, grab it on the Y axis, hold Control and snap it there. That'll center it perfectly, so now we can do Alt right click, delete, and dissolve edges. We don't need that edge anymore. Select an edge, do Control L, S and then Y and scale this out. We're also going to want to reposition this on the Z axis, just bring this down some. Now I'm going to scale it on the X axis, do S and then X and make this pretty skinny, and just bring it a little bit higher up. We're going to make this a separate object so we can use the array modifier, so we're going to press P and choose selection. We're going to tab into object mode, select this object. We're going to get rid of these modifiers by clicking the X and then add a modifier and choose array. Change the count to 7. Change this value to 0. Hold shift, left click and drag and you can adjust this value. You may need to go into edit mode, do A twice and then just bring this up slightly. And then again hold shift and adjust this value. Then we can press tab to go to object mode and just apply this modifier, so click apply. We're going to hold shift and right click to select this other object, do Control J to join them together. Then we can tab into edit mode and we're going to select these edges here. Then we're going to do delete and choose edges. Switch to vertex select, select these vertices. Do Control Shift and B. We're going to mouse wheel up twice to get 4 points on each corner. Then I'm going to switch to face select and select this face, do I to do an inset. Then we're going to do I to do an inset again, about equal size as the other one. We're going to do Y to split this into a different piece, and then H to hide it. Switch to vertex select, Alt right click, then do delete and choose vertices. Alt right click, F to make a face, and then we're going to do I again. We're going to make a bigger inset this time. And then we're going to bring it up on the Z axis, so just bring it up on the Z axis, that should be good. And then we can do Alt H to unhide that piece that we hid before. We're going to switch to face select and select this face. We're going to do I to do an inset. And that should be good. Then we're going to bring this one down on the Z axis, so bring it down on the Z axis a bit. Then you're going to want to do another inset, so do I to do an inset, and a small one this time. We're going to do Shift S and cursor to selected. We're going to go to create and choose UV sphere, change the segments to 16, change the rings to 8. We're going to switch to vertex select. We're going to scale this down quite a bit. We want to delete the vertices that are above this part of it. So we're going to Alt right click, we're going to do delete and choose vertices, right click to select, Control L and then delete and choose vertices. Then we're going to select these 3 vertices, we're going to press F to make a face, select these 2 and continue pressing F. We're going to do Control R, we're going to left click and drag this up. We're going to switch to edge select, Alt right click, Alt and Shift right click to get the rest of these. We're going to deselect these 2 because it causes problems on these edges, we'll fix that in a minute. And we're also going to deselect everything on the bottom. So all the edges on the very bottom should be deselected. Just like that. And then just do Control B and mouse wheel up once. That should be fine. Then we're going to select these 2 edges, press delete and choose vertices. Then select this edge, press F a bunch of times, select this edge and press F a bunch of times. Now we're going to switch to face select. We're going to select all the faces on the top. And we're going to do I to do an inset, just do a small inset. We're going to switch back to edge select and we're going to Alt right click, Alt and Shift right click to get all the center edge loops. We're going to do 3 for side view, switch to vertex select, Z for wireframe, B to box select, middle mouse deselect. We want to deselect all those and we want to deselect all these as well. The only ones we want on this bottom part are these in the center, so you're going to want to select the ones in the center. Once you've done that, you're going to do Alt S and just bring it in a bit. Then we're going to switch to face select. We're going to select these faces and we're going to press delete and choose faces. We're going to do Control R, left click, right click on each one of these to put an edge loop in the center. Then we're going to Alt and Shift right click to continue selecting all the edge loops we just created. And we're going to bring these in this direction on the Z-axis. Then you can deselect the two outer ones and bring it out a bit more. Deselect the two outer ones again, bring it out a bit more. Deselect the two outer ones and bring it out slightly again. If you want to adjust this one a bit more you can, but that's fine. We're going to Alt and Shift right click again. We're going to get all these edge loops one more time. Then we're going to do Control B. We're going to mouse wheel up once, and you can do M a bunch of times until it says %. Then you can type in 50 for 50% and press enter. Then we're going to Alt right click, Alt and Shift right click to get all these edge loops here. You don't want these two on the outer edge, you just want these on the inner edge here. So you're just still going to do Alt right click, or Alt and Shift right click, and then just deselect these two on the outside here. We also want to deselect all the ones that are right here, so we're just going to go through and deselect all the ones that are in the center like this. Anything that's not straight up and down basically is what we want to deselect. So you should have these. If you go to wireframe, it should look like this. Then we can do E to extrude, right click to cancel. We're just going to bring these down. Don't worry about them sticking through like this. It's not really going to show up, so don't worry about that. To add in some more detail, we're just going to select these edges right here. And we're just going to bring them down a bit. Usually on these type of things, they bring them down here so you can get your finger in here and adjust the angle of these pieces here. So we're just going to bring this down to do that, and we're also going to select these and bring them down slightly as well, but these actually don't get pulled down as far as these other ones, so just bring them down a little bit, but not as far as the other one. One last little detail, we're going to go to face select and select these faces. We're going to do Shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel, E to extrude, right click to cancel, and then just bring this out slightly. Then we're going to select these faces. We're just going to bring them up a bit. We're going to do Control R, mouse wheel up twice, left click, right click. Control R, mouse wheel up twice, left click, right click. Then we're going to select every other edge. So you want to select this one, and then this one, and then this one, and finally this one. And you're just going to bring these down. And if we want to, we can add in some more detail just by bringing this down a bit further and adjusting the levels of each of these. Usually you want to move these in pairs just to get things set up nicely, and that should be fine. Then we're going to create a circle. Going to change the vertex count to 16 and press enter. You can do Control 7 for bottom view, S to scale this down, and everything should be lined up nicely. If it's not, you can go to vertex select and select these two vertices, for example, do Shift S, cursor to selected, and then create your circle again, and just delete this one if it's not lined up. If you moved your cursor somewhere else, you might have to do that. So if you move your cursor over here, you're going to have to select these two, Shift S, cursor to selected, and then create your circle. But mine's in the right spot, so I'm just going to Alt right click and scale this down slightly. E to extrude, right click to cancel, S to scale this down again. Then we're going to do Control L, and we're going to bring this up. So we want to bring this up to where this piece is, maybe a little bit lower than it. And then we're going to Alt right click on this inner edge. We're going to E to extrude, right click to cancel, and bring this down. You can scale it in slightly if you want. It's not really necessary. You're going to Alt right click here, E to extrude, right click to cancel, S to scale this out. And then we're going to bring this down to give it a bit of an angle, and maybe scale it down slightly in my case, and then E to extrude, right click to cancel, and bring this down again. We're going to stop here for now, so just make sure to go to File and Save. Thank you to our awesome Patreon supporters. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter yourself, head on over to patreon.com/StephenBrooks. Thank you for your support.